Good morning, guys. Good morning. So when talking about, with Chris and Eric, deciding what we're going to present for the nutrition lecture, again, I think it's important that we have some review of stuff that you guys should already know, okay? Again, this is going to be intended for athletes that may not have necessarily seen the level 1 material. So we need to brush through it quickly. So if this is review, again, let's just remember some of the stuff that we learned back in the level 1 and kind of go over it quickly. Then we're going to jump into some game day stuff, training volume stuff, and that's really where it gets pretty exciting. Stuff that we've seen work with numerous athletes, stuff that we've seen work time and time again. Take the guesswork out of game day. So to start off, just real fast, when you eat something, your body kind of conducts a symphony of hormonal reactions. Proteins, carbs, and fats, macronutrients, right? When we eat a protein, glucagon is secreted. Glucagon mobilizes stored energy. It helps us regulate our blood sugar. If our blood sugar drops, glucagon's released, our blood sugar goes up. If we exercise, glucagon is released, blood sugar goes up. That may be due in part to hypoglycemia post-exercise. When you eat a carbohydrate, insulin is released. When insulin is released, it actually lowers our blood sugar, trying to regulate that. It's the storage mechanism. So that's what's going to add to that adipose tissue, as well as forming glycogen both in the liver and the muscles. Important to remember. We prescribe that people eat for wellness. Our prescription, lean meats, nuts and seeds, meats and veggies, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch and no sugar. This is when we polled you guys, our games athletes, this is how 79% of you eat. Not weighed or measured, but we eat those meats and veggies, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Think it works? I think so. There's a reason why, 72 of you that responded eat this way. Now, with that said, this is going to be a baseline for a lot of our athletes. People that are in our facilities, that's what we're going to have to get them to eat before we move on to the idea of weighing and measuring and eating for performance. Okay, so this is important to remember. You guys take this for granted. Other people don't. Okay, this is a big deal for them. Now, the other thing that this is going to do for our athletes is going to take them back to an alkaline state. All this exercise that we do makes us acidotic. Okay, that actually causes muscle breakdown. We want to return our bodies back to this alkaline state, and those veggies, those nuts and seeds, and those fruits are going to do that. So this brings us into the stuff that's about weighing and measuring. And this is very important stuff because this is going to calculate what we eat on game day. So we're going to spend a little bit more time here. Weighing and measuring or eating for performance, only 10% of the games athletes do. Now you may say, well, I guess it's not important. But in my opinion, what that says to me is that 90% of the games athletes can improve. I look at it kind of a different way. Okay? And the reason I know is because if I don't weigh and measure, my performance goes down. I've seen the same happen with my athletes. Their performance goes down when we say, hey, let's forego the weighing and measuring during this month and see what happens. Boom. They end up not eating enough carbs and tanking during longer workouts, for example. Okay? So what it's going to help us do is establish a baseline that we're going to eat on a training day. Okay? If we're doing singles, it's very early on in the season, we're going to have a baseline where we're doing one workout a day, and that prescription is going to do just fine for those days. We're going to also have to have goals of our own and for our athletes, whether it's a team or otherwise. All right? Now, just to review, a block. 7 grams of protein. 9 grams of? And 3 or 1.5 grams of fat. I'm just going to write 1.5. That equals 1 block. And this is going to be the basis in which we're going to build our daily diet. All right? Now, with that said, just a quick example of what this would be. 1 whole egg 1 cup of strawberries, 3 almonds. Boom, there's your block. We need all 3 of those macronutrients in a single meal, and that's the way it's going to roll. Now we're going to utilize the zone parameters so that we can establish a baseline training intake. All right, and we're going to need to know a couple things for ourselves and for our athletes. Body fat percentage. There's a bunch of different ways to measure that. Anthropometric, cheapest way, right? Take a measurement of your waist, your wrist for men, hips for the ladies, height and weight, and we can come up with a general idea of what our body fat percentage is. I've seen that be off for the ladies as high as 12% body fat. Not ideal, not ideal. So it's worth kind of investing into some calipers or more expensive ways. DEXA scan, hydrostatic testing. Okay, those are within 3%. Same with the cheap old calipers though, 3% deviation. So we're much closer and much more accurate. The reason we need to know this body fat percentage is because once we have that, I can tell you how much lean body mass you have and how much I want to support that with protein. Okay, so let's just let's say that this body fat tells us lean body mass. And then we're going to associate that lean body mass with the proper amount of protein which supports lean body mass. Okay? Now the next thing that I need to know from my athletes and from you guys is your activity level. Where are we at in training right now? Are we training 1 workout a day? Are we at a point where we're starting to add in 1 workout, 1 Metcon and starting to do a little bit of strength as a second workout? Or are we doubling up the Metcons? Has it come close to the regionals and we're testing a weekend full of triples? We need to know that information because that's going to change our activity level. Okay? So activity level, make sure that you diagnose that for your athletes and yourself, where we're at currently. All right? Then we need to apply this formula real fast. Lean body mass times the activity level, which for a general CrossFitter that's doing 1 workout a day is 0.7. And then we're going to divide that by 7. And all 7 is the protein in 1 block. What that's going to take us to is a baseline zone block prescription. This is our low-level training prescription. Okay? Now, that is going to change entirely when we start talking about training volume. If I say you're doing 1 watt a day, that's our baseline zone block prescription. As we progress, we're going to do 2, 3, possibly even 4. Okay? Once we have that information, we can change what the activity level is going to be from anywhere from 0.7 to potentially 0.8, 0.85, 0.9, and maybe up to 1.0. Now, many of you guys are trainers. We have to take that into consideration too. We spend a lot of time on our feet, talking, moving, demonstrating. We're active throughout the day. So we need to take that into account. We have a very active profession. So we're going to see that number move up right away. If you're a trainer, we're looking at 0.75 to 0.8 if you're training on a daily basis. Okay, and it's important to take each of these into consideration. Otherwise, we end up at a caloric deficit at the end of the day. All right?